arguing that the Three-Eye Atlas could be a nuclear-powered alien spacecraft. That's a controversial opinion all on its own.
On August nights, the sun fired eruptions. Japan's skies turned red, and storms grew beyond prediction. All while one interstellar object, Three-Eye Atlas, cut against the solar wind. Is it a comet or a machine twisting Earth's shield? Today, we follow the evidence and see if the storm has already begun. The sun's strange reaction. Imagine this. An object from another star system slices into our solar system, and almost immediately, the sun seems to notice. On August 20th, 2025, solar telescopes caught something unusual. From a single scar-like region on the sun's surface, eruptions fired off in quick succession. A medium-class solar flare, a giant plasma filament, and then a monstrous prominence. 3 major outbursts, all within less than 2 days. Now, solar storms aren't rare. The sun throws tantrums all the time. But what grabbed people's attention was the timing. These eruptions happened just as Three-Eye Atlas, the third interstellar visitor we've ever tracked, was carving its way across the solar system. Instead of drifting harmlessly, Atlas seemed to move against the flow of the solar wind, like a swimmer pushing upstream. Its orbit was odd, its path suspiciously precise, and to many, it looked like the sun was actually firing back. Some observers went further. They said Atlas's sheath, that glowing envelope of plasma around it, wasn't behaving like comet dust at all. Instead, it looked like an active magnetic reactor bending and twisting solar field lines until they snapped, as if wires under strain. Think about that. A natural object should just scatter sunlight and release gas. But here, it seemed like Atlas was almost interacting with the sun in real time. Of course, mainstream astronomers were quick to cool the hype. Solar activity surges all the time, especially as we approach solar maximum. To them, the flare filament prominence sequence was just a coincidence, not a conspiracy. But for those watching the skies with a more suspicious eye, the pattern was too sharp to ignore. Atlas enters. The sun lashes out. Cause and effect? Maybe. Maybe not. Some observers even claim Atlas is not just drifting, but firing back, unleashing what they call a kind of nuclear magnetic energy at the sun that's destabilizing its surface. While mainstream science hasn't confirmed that, the timing has fueled theories worldwide. And here's where the story gets unsettling. That same unstable region of the sun that spat fury at Atlas was now turning its face toward Earth, which means whatever the interstellar visitor stirred up, we were next in line. Earth's shield under pressure. Earth isn't just floating naked in space. We live inside a protective bubble, the magnetosphere. It's our invisible shield, carved out by Earth's magnetic field, deflecting the constant stream of charged particles blasting from the sun. Without it, the solar wind would strip our atmosphere like peeling an orange, and life here wouldn't stand a chance. But even the strongest shields have weak points. When the sun hurls a coronal mass ejection, billions of tons of plasma shot into space at millions of miles per hour, that storm cloud can slam into Earth's magnetosphere. Usually the field holds. It flexes, compresses, and bounces the storm around us. Sometimes we even get a bonus, glowing auroras dancing far closer to the equator than normal. Yet in extreme cases, scientists warn the magnetosphere can crack. Not shatter like glass, but open temporary gaps that let solar particles surge deeper than usual. When that happens, satellites can short out, GPS signals get scrambled, and power grids on the ground overload. It's happened before. In 1859, the Carrington event set telegraph lines on fire. In 1989, a geomagnetic storm blacked out the entire Canadian province of Quebec in less than 2 minutes. Now imagine this. If Atlas is truly influencing the sun, even slightly, and pulling out stronger, stranger eruptions, then Earth's shield could be tested in ways we've never experienced. Remember, the same solar region that lashed out at Atlas is swinging into direct alignment with Earth. If another wave of flares or CMEs erupts from that spot, the energy won't just scatter harmlessly into space, it'll be aimed at us. And here's where the worry sharpens. A normal solar storm can disrupt power grids for hours or days. But if something amplifies the storm, if Atlas's plasma sheath is acting like a magnetic lens, bouncing or even focusing energy back toward Earth, the effects could be magnified beyond what our modern world is built to handle. The unsettling truth? Earth's shield is powerful but not unbreakable. And if Atlas is really cracking it, then we're about to find out just how fragile our protection is. Japan's red sky and fireball omen. On the night of August 19th, 2025, people in southern Japan looked up and saw something that didn't belong. The sky lit up with a blinding flash, so bright it turned midnight into midday. A meteor fireball tore across the heavens, streaking above the restless Sakurajima volcano, one of the most unstable volcanic systems on Earth. Witnesses swore the ground trembled at the same moment, as if sky and crust struck the same chord. Dash cams and security cameras caught it all. A brilliant streak, then an explosion that rattled windows and left an eerie glow. For a few seconds, Japan's skies looked otherworldly. Blood-red clouds illuminated by the shock of the blast. It wasn't just a meteor, it felt like an omen. Now, meteors aren't rare. Every day, tons of space dust burn up in Earth's atmosphere. Most arrive unnoticed, but the timing here raised eyebrows. This fireball erupted just hours before the sun blasted out one of its strongest plasma filaments of the year. Two violent events, one in space, one above Earth's surface, separated by less than a day. Coincidence or connection? Theories spiraled fast. Some argued that the meteor's entry path, lined up with solar activity, was a signal. Earth's atmosphere echoing turbulence already unleashed by Atlas's interaction with the sun. Others went further. Pointing to Sakurajima's fiery reputation, they claimed this was a cosmic warning shot, as though the heavens and the Earth's crust were vibrating together in sync. Skeptics were quick to push back. Meteors break up all the time, they argued, and while volcanic systems can trigger quakes and tremors, linking that to an interstellar comet was a stretch. Still, the imagery was unforgettable. A fireball over a live volcano at the exact moment solar storms were stirring. And in an age where patterns matter more than probabilities, that imagery spread like wildfire. The story wasn't just about a meteor. It became another chapter in the growing belief that Atlas wasn't just passing through. It was forcing Earth to respond. When storms don't follow rules, the weather has patterns. Hurricanes form, strengthen, and weaken according to the physics we know. Warm water, low wind shear, stable circulation. That's the script. But in late August 2025, one storm ripped that script to shreds. Meteorologists had been tracking Hurricane Erin, a modest system expected to stay weak. Forecast models showed no explosive growth. Yet within just 25 hours, Erin went from a minor disturbance to a Category 5 monster, one of the fastest intensifications on record. Its spiral structure was eerie. Satellite imagery showed a near-perfect vortex, like something drawn with a compass. The storm's symmetry looked almost mathematical, echoing the arcs of plasma seen bursting from the sun days earlier. Scientists called it unusual. Others called it unnatural. Even after Erin weakened back down to a Category 2, its sheer size was staggering. The storm stretched across the ocean like a living engine, still generating waves and winds that reached far beyond its center. To some, Erin was proof that Earth's atmosphere itself was being pulled into resonance with cosmic forces, echoing turbulence unleashed by Atlas as it tangled with the sun. Now, let's be clear. Mainstream climate science points to warming oceans and changing weather patterns as the drivers of extreme storms. Rapid intensification has become more common in the last decade. But here's the main thing: the timing. Erin's sudden leap lined up almost perfectly with the sun's flares, plasma ejections, and the growing storm around Atlas. To many watching, that timing felt too sharp to brush aside. First, a meteor ignites the skies of Japan. Then the sun fires off eruptions, and now a storm that shouldn't have grown explodes into a super hurricane. Coincidence? Or a chain of events spiraling from a single interstellar trigger? Even skeptics admitted the pattern was unnerving. Hurricanes aren't supposed to behave like this, at least not in sync with solar fireworks. Yet Erin did. And for those who believe Atlas isn't just a comet, Erin became Exhibit A, a storm that broke the rules because something bigger was riding them. And storms weren't the only thing breaking the pattern. Even the ground beneath our feet seemed to join the rhythm. The Earth trembles in sync. Earthquakes are one of the oldest forces we know. The planet shifting, plates grinding, faults breaking. They're supposed to be random in timing, though not in cause. But in 2025, two powerful quakes struck with unnerving precision. Their timing lined up with solar unrest. The first came in March, when a 7.7 magnitude quake shook Myanmar. Entire regions trembled, buildings swayed, and thousands were displaced. Just months later, in July, the Pacific floor ripped open with an 8.8 megathrust quake, one of the strongest ever recorded in that region. Both were catastrophic in scale, but what unsettled people most wasn't just their destruction. It was their rhythm. Each quake landed almost perfectly in step with surges of solar activity, plasma streams tearing from a coronal hole on the sun that refused to heal. That gaping wound in the sun's surface had persisted through 12 full rotations, pumping torrents of charged particles into space. And every time it opened wide, Earth seemed to shudder in response. Scientists at the USGS were quick to pour cold water on the idea. Tectonics, they said, not solar storms, drive quakes. The stresses had been building for years beneath Myanmar and the Pacific. No need to invoke space weather. Still, the timing gnawed at people's minds. When the sun surged, the Earth shook. Once could be luck. Twice looked like a pattern, and then came the theories. What if Earth's crust isn't isolated, but instead sensitive to shifts in electromagnetic pressure? Could the magnetosphere's cracks allow enough energy to disturb the delicate balance deep underground? If Atlas really is amplifying solar output, then maybe, just maybe, it was nudging the planet beneath our feet. Of course, no mainstream scientist will stamp that as fact, but in the public imagination, the link had already solidified. Hurricanes growing too fast, skies igniting in Japan, and now the ground itself trembling in rhythm with the sun. It felt less like a string of random disasters, and more like Earth being drawn into the same cosmic storm Atlas had stirred up, the CME bullseye theory. On August 20th, 2025, the sun fired off a coronal mass ejection, a giant cloud of magnetized plasma hurled into space at millions of miles per hour. CMEs are common, but this one got attention for a chilling reason. It appeared to line up perfectly with the orbital corridor of 3I Atlas. To believers, this wasn't a chance. It was a direct hit, as if the sun was aiming squarely at the intruder. Out of billions of possible trajectories across the vastness of space, the CME traced a path that seemed to target the very lane Atlas was traveling. The odds, they argued, were almost zero. Too precise, too exact. This gave birth to what's now called the bullseye theory. The idea is simple but unnerving. Atlas isn't just drifting by, It's provoking the sun. Like a magnet in a field, its presence destabilizes solar plasma, pulling eruptions into alignment. And when those eruptions are flung outward, they don't scatter randomly. They shoot straight through Atlas's path, almost like target practice. Skeptics pushed back hard. The sun launches CMEs constantly, and from Earth's perspective, many look aligned with something just by chance. Orbital corridors are wide, not razor-thin lines, and aligning a CME visually doesn't mean a physical interaction is taking place. To astronomers, this was another case of pattern seeking in the noise. But let's consider the what if. If Atlas truly acted like a magnetic reactor, then any CME striking its plasma sheath wouldn't just pass by. It could be amplified, distorted, or even redirected. That energy, once caught in Atlas's electromagnetic bubble, might not stay there. It could rebound, like a shock wave bouncing off a wall, heading back toward the inner planets and toward Earth. That's the nightmare scenario behind the bullseye theory. Not just random space weather, but targeted feedback. The sun flares, Atlas magnifies it, and the storm comes roaring back at us twice as strong. So, is it real? Most scientists say no. But for those connecting the dots, August 20th wasn't just another solar eruption. It was the moment the sun seemed to look at Atlas and fire. Countdown to perihelion. Every comet has a moment of truth. Perihelion, its closest approach to the sun. For 3I Atlas, that moment comes on October 31st, 2025. To most astronomers, it'll be a chance to watch a natural comet brighten and shed gas in a harmless spectacle. But to others, perihelion feels less like a photo op and more like a countdown. Here's why. As Atlas draws closer, its plasma sheath will no longer be a faint haze of dust and ice. Bathed in the sun's radiation, it will expand, glow, and energize. If Atlas is just a comet, this is normal. Frozen gases boiling off, tails stretching across millions of miles, a celestial light show. But if Atlas is something more, something engineered, then perihelion is the moment it feeds. The theory says the sun's radiation won't burn it away, but power it up. Its retrograde orbit, slicing directly against the solar wind, looks almost like positioning, a machine placing itself to soak up maximum energy, like solar panels angled perfectly toward the light. And here's where the scenario turns dangerous. A fully energized plasma envelope could act less like a comet's coma and more like a giant electromagnetic engine. By distorting the sun's magnetic field, it might trigger flares, chain reactions of CMEs, or even, in the darkest speculation, a super flare 10 times stronger than anything in recorded history. That's why October isn't just a date on the calendar. It's a milestone on what some call a cosmic doomsday clock. If Atlas is natural, perihelion means a brightening sky and maybe some stunning photos. But if it's a probe cloaked in comet disguise, perihelion could be the ignition point, the moment it drinks deep from the sun and reveals its true purpose. Astronomers will be watching closely, not just for beauty, but for anomalies, strange accelerations, unnatural symmetry, light curves that don't behave like ice and dust. The world won't just be looking at a comet. It'll be watching for a signal, because if Atlas is truly more than rock and ice, October 31st is when it will show us. The storm already begun. When people talk about cosmic threats, it's usually framed as something in the future, a storm that might come, an impact that could happen. But with 3I Atlas, some argue the storm isn't coming at all. It's already here. Look at the timeline. August 19th, Japan's skies erupt in a blinding fireball, the ground trembling under Sakurajima. August 20th, the sun lashes out with eruptions from the same scar that faced Atlas. Days later, a hurricane grows into a Category 5 giant in just over 24 hours, breaking every forecast. Then, In sync with persistent solar activity, Earth's crust jolts with quakes in Myanmar and across the Pacific floor. Individually, each event could be explained. Meteors happen, storms intensify, tectonic plates shift. But together, strung across weeks, they feel like links in a chain, a resonance that connects space and Earth in ways we don't fully understand. Here's the unsettling part. If Atlas really is acting like a magnetic reactor, then these aren't coincidences. They're echoes. The sun surges, Atlas magnifies, and Earth responds in skies, seas, and stone. It's as though the entire solar system has been nudged into a new rhythm, one that humankind was never meant to feel. Skeptics will tell you it's a chance, and maybe it is. But ask yourself, why are so many systems breaking pattern all at once? Why are storms intensifying faster than models predict? Why do fireballs and quakes seem to rhyme with solar unrest? And why does it all happen just as Atlas arrives? For those watching, it no longer feels like a countdown. It feels like we're already inside the storm, the opening act of something bigger. And if this is just the beginning, the real question isn't if the storm will come. It's how much worse it can get. If Earth's shield really breaks. So what happens if the unthinkable occurs? If Earth's magnetic shield really does crack? Our magnetosphere is the reason life on this planet has survived for billions of years. It bends the solar wind around us, shielding our atmosphere, satellites, and even our biology. But push it past its limits, and the consequences could unfold faster than most people realize. First, satellites. A strong enough geomagnetic storm would fry circuits, blind sensors, and scramble GPS. The constellation of satellites that runs everything from navigation to internet service could fail in minutes. Imagine planes flying blind mid-air, ships drifting without guidance, and entire countries cut off from communication. Then, the power grids. When the magnetosphere is stressed, massive currents can surge through Earth's crust and into our transformers. In 1989, a single geomagnetic storm blacked out Quebec in 90 seconds. Now, scale that up to a storm 10 times stronger. Entire continents could plunge into darkness. Hospitals would lose power, stock markets would freeze, and cities would grind to a halt. Civilization wouldn't unravel slowly. It would fracture in days. And it doesn't stop with technology. Human biology itself is tied to Earth's field. Our circadian rhythms, our mental focus, even stress hormones are subtly linked to electromagnetic balance. If Atlas amplifies solar chaos enough to truly weaken that balance, billions of people could feel the strain. Insomnia, disorientation, confusion, and mass anxiety without knowing why. The invisible pressure would become personal. Scientists warn about super flares, rare eruptions on stars that can dwarf anything we've seen. If something like that was triggered, Earth's shield wouldn't just bend. It could collapse under the assault. Radiation would spike. Astronauts in orbit would be at risk. Air travelers at high altitudes could absorb dangerous doses. This is the nightmare scenario, the one hinted at when people say Atlas could be cracking Earth's shield. Not a poetic metaphor, but a chain reaction. The sun destabilized, Earth's defenses overwhelmed, and human civilization exposed. Is it certain? Number. But if Atlas really is magnifying solar energy, then the storm we fear isn't science fiction. It's a ticking possibility. The human signal. When strange things happen in the sky, it's never just about science. It's also about how people respond. And with 3i Atlas, the human signal has been just as loud as the cosmic one. Governments are watching. Space agencies quietly run simulations, preparing for worst-case scenarios. NASA tracks solar storms daily. And while their official updates are calm, behind the scenes, operators know that a single massive CME could ground flights, knock out GPS, and cripple communications. Even whispers of a cracked shield are enough to keep emergency planners awake at night. But beyond science, there's the public, and panic spreads faster than plasma. Online, speculation about Atlas has exploded. Fiery headlines, viral TikToks, and late-night theories that the comet is an alien probe or a weapon. Some laugh it off. Others stockpile water and generators. Fear doesn't wait for peer review. It's not new. Ancient cultures saw omens in the skies. Comets were harbingers of war. Eclipses a sign of wrath. Meteors a cosmic warning. And here we are in the 21st century, still looking up and wondering if the universe is sending us a message. Only now, our world is wired together in real time. A rumor in Tokyo can ripple into New York within seconds. A single viral clip of Japan's fireball or Hurricane Aaron's satellite spiral can spark fear across millions. Markets don't like uncertainty either. Every time headlines scream about solar storms or shield cracks, traders react. Communications blackouts, even minor ones, cost billions. The fear of collapse can trigger just as much damage as the storm itself. And then there's the human body. Whether or not Atlas is truly magnifying solar chaos, people feel it. Migraines during geomagnetic shifts, restless nights, and unexplained anxiety. For some, the storm is already personal. That's the human signal. Not the plasma, not the quakes, but the way we react, with fear, preparation, denial, or hope. Even if Atlas is just a comet, it's already tested us, revealing how fragile our systems are and how quickly panic can ripple. Hope, fear, and the unknown. For weeks, the story of 3I Atlas has sounded like something pulled from science fiction. A comet that acts like a machine, a sun that reacts as if challenged, and a planet trembling as though caught in the crossfire. But step back, and what do we really know? We know Atlas is real and it's interstellar. We know the sun has erupted in spectacular ways this year. We know Earth has seen quakes, meteors, and storms that felt unnervingly out of step with predictions. Those are facts. What ties them together, whether coincidence, climate, or cosmic resonance, is still an open question. For some, Atlas is just a comet, a beautiful but harmless wanderer. For others, it's something engineered, slipping through our solar system under the disguise of ice and dust. The truth, right now, it lives in the space between. Maybes, what-ifs, possibilities, and that's the heart of it. Humanity has always faced the unknown, sometimes with fear, sometimes with hope. Atlas has become a mirror for that. It could be a harmless spectacle, or it could be the test of our resilience against forces we barely understand. Either way, it reminds us that we are small, fragile, and not fully in control. As October 31st approaches, all eyes will turn skyward. Some will look for beauty, others will look for danger. And when Atlas rounds the sun, we'll get our answer. Maybe not final, but clearer. Until then, the only certainty is uncertainty. Whether comet or probe, natural or engineered, Atlas has already done one thing perfectly. It's forced humanity to reckon with just how vulnerable we are and how much mystery still hides in the skies above. Hope, fear, and the unknown. That's the story of Atlas. The questions don't end here, and neither does the story. If you want the latest updates as this mystery unfolds, hit like, share this with others, and subscribe for more. Together, we'll keep digging into the signs the universe throws our way.